Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour at the beginning of a local shelter-in-place order to help us remain connected in one of the oldest ways known to our species, telling one another stories as the light begins to dim. As we continue to protect one another with physical distance, Story Hour continues to connect us to one another with stories. Welcome back to those returning, and welcome to those joining us for the first time. This week's format is familiar to those of you who've been here before. Two writers, about 30 minutes each, no Q&A, and a short PSA for a nonprofit. You can keep up to date about upcoming authors at storyhour2020.com and see programs you may have missed either via the recordings link or at the Story Hour page on Facebook. If you are fortunate enough to help others during this bizarre and bewildering time, please consider a donation to the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center is dedicated to fighting hate and bigotry and to seeking justice for the most vulnerable members of our society. Using litigation, education, and other forms of advocacy, the SPLC works toward the day when the ideals of equal justice and equal opportunity will be a reality. You can find the SPLC at www.splcenter.org. If you're here on Zoom, please mute your mic now. Feel free to leave your camera on because it can be quite lovely for our readers to see their distant audience. Chime in on the text chat if you like. And if you're joining us on Facebook, thank you, but please understand that we're not seeing your messages. We have two readers tonight. We have Elaine Isaak and Kathleen Alcalá. We'll be starting with Elaine. Let me tell you a little about her. Elaine Isaak writes knowledge-inspired adventure fiction, including the Singer's Legacy fantasy series, the Dark Apostle series about medieval surgery as E.C. Ambrose, and the Bone Guard International thrillers as E. Chris Ambrose. Her latest publication is the historical fantasy novella, The King of Next Week, from Guardbridge Books. She's a frequent workshop instructor who leads adventure camps and makes wearable art in her free time. To learn all about her writing, check out Rocinante Books. That's ROCINANTE books.com. Elaine, welcome.
Thank you very much, Laura. It's great to be here. The Rocinante Books, Rocinante is the name of Don Quixote's horse. And I had the revelation sometime last year when I was analyzing some of my own writing that most of my protagonists are Don Quixote in some form or another.
Wonderful.
So my new website was named in honor of the horse that I ride in on or out on to tilt at windmills. So the piece that I'm going to read for you tonight is a complete short story. It's a prequel to my Dark Apostle series. Those are the books about medieval surgery. The first volume is Elisha Barber. And the story that I'm reading is called The Burning. The fight for my son's soul began just after the witch burning. We were far from the stake, given the crowds, but we could see the witch tied up there and the piles of wood. Once the fire started, smoke obscured everything but the flash of the bishop's golden crosses as they warded us against evil. Owen gave Elisha a penny to buy a banner from one of the vendors, so that's what led him away to where it happened. What with the smoke, we couldn't see the devil manifest in the flesh of his witch, but Elisha had run right down in there, and it was that brought corruption to our house, I'm sure it was. When the priest who frowned him brought him back to us, the boy insisted he'd seen an angel and not the devil at all, and no amount of praying nor beating would get it out of him. He kept touching his cheek like he'd been kissed, and it was Father John told me the devil had touched my son. Owen smacked the boy's cheek hard after that. Me, I'm at my wit's end. Not only my son's been touched by the devil, but Owen's gone on a tear trying to beat it out of him, and the whole time looking scared half to death. But I never seen him so scared as he was when Father John showed up to the house after Elisha's outburst. Taking him to church more often only made him wilder, saying the priest had let an angel die, and he'd seen it all. It was me brought Father John back to the house after bringing little Nate down to the Cutlers, but I mightn't have done it if I'd known how Owen would react. I gave the priest the chair, and me and Owen took opposite benches, Elisha kneeling at his father's back, a little blood still trickling from the corner of his mouth, My boys are strong-willed, no doubt, and Elisha was fighting the devil with all of his 9 years, but he needed help. And Owen, well, my husband didn't know what to do but beating and pleading, and neither of those did any good. Owen sat with his hands gripped between his knees, his eyes flashing white now and then in the firelight. The lad's always been headstrong, Father, you know that. There's no devil in him. Witchcraft requires a firm response, Owen. Father John leaned forward, shadows deepening his features. People are beginning to talk. They know what happened, and the interventions of the church on your behalf have not gone unnoticed. Some are beginning to suggest a dunking. A dunking. If Elisha floated, he was the devil's, and if he sank, he went to God. I clamped my hands on the edge of the bench. Father, Owen drew up at that, I have disciplined him. He reached back and caught Elisha's chin, tipping the boy's face to display the reddening bruise. He's got this idea stuck in his head, and I'll beat it out of him, I promise you. Elisha's blue eyes glinted in the dim light, staring at the priest, and I clucked my tongue at him, trying to encourage obedience. Owen's back stiffened, and he let the boy go. What is it, Edith? Don't you think I've beat him well enough? He always did know when I had something on my mind. The priest nodded at me, so I found my voice, trying to talk calm so Owen would hear me. We've done the best we could, Father, Owen, but it's been weeks now and he's still not settled. The Abbey is the best thing for him. It could be this was God's way to call him to prayer. Elisha's jaw set with anger, but it's not as if I wanted him to go, although it's a worthy thing having a monk in the family. We need him, Father, Owen snapped. I can't manage the farm on my own. As if I didn't do no work at all. My jaw clenched and I tried to relax. Owen and the priest had never got on well, and this madness of Elisha's affected him. A man couldn't see his firstborn touched by the devil without some kind of pain in himself. You have another son, Owen, and that new colt of yours. The priest tipped his head to me, and neither of you is so old that more children are out of the question. My cheeks warmed at that, and I wished that Owen felt the heat as well. Lord knows I've prayed for more children, but he pushed himself to his feet as if he didn't hear. Thank you, Father. We'll speak on it. And I'm sorry about his outburst. If it happens again, I'll beat him till he can't talk at all. Owen used to be such a soft touch with the boys. It was my husband I started to worry over, more even than Elisha. At least the church could help him. Do speak on it. Father John rose up, brushing down his woolen robe. More than that, Owen. Pray on it. You will do that, won't you? I bobbed him a curtsy, trying to make amends for Owen's rudeness. Of course, Father. Father John gazed on me with a measure of pride as he said, Listen to your wife, Owen. She is wise beyond her stature. Then Owen held the door for him, summoning a spate of barking from the dogs. Owen stared into the twilight after him, then shoved the door closed and shouted, Elisha! The boy leapt up. Yes, Da. Don't you ever mention angels again. You hear? Not angels, not visions, not prophets, not witches, not Moses, not anything near magic nor miracles. You hear me? Elisha's Adam's apple bobbed. Then he said, soft but clear, how can I not speak of prophets when I'm named for one? I downright gawked at my own son. I hated seeing him bruised and all, but I hated more this madness that turned him astray. His defiance would be the death of him, even if they didn't toss him in a pond. Owen snarled, grabbing Elisha's shirt so that the old linen tore at his shoulder, exposing his bruised back. I feared Owen would take the boy's head right off, but his lips twisted like he was the one in pain. I never seen anything like that face, as dread as a painting of hell. Another beating won't help, Owen. My husband's arm felt hard as oak. I wished I could make him tender again, the way he used to be. That witch tainted him. Let Father John take him to the Abbey. It's the best thing for him and for all of us. If the villagers are talking, I'll move to London before I let Father John take any son of mine. Owen's eyes gleamed as if he might weep. His hand twisted in the boy's shirt and then released him. For the love of God, boy, you've got to let this go. Can't you see that? Owen, I tried again, but he dropped to one knee before Elisha, touching the cheek where he'd slapped the boy not an hour ago. Uncertainty edged white in Elisha's eyes. It was an angel I saw, not the devil. You'd feel if I was lying. Owen winced as if the boy's words hurt him more. I believe you, but whatever you saw, give up saying it. I don't care what you say to God in your own heart, but when anybody else can hear you, you keep your mouth shut. My knees felt so weak, but I had to draw up my strength. And I told him, Elisha, go quiet the dogs. Yes, Mom. Elisha edged around Owen, slipping out the door. He always had the touch with animals, too, just like his father, even after the devil. But it was my husband's madness I had to face. What can you mean, telling him that? I folded my arms so he couldn't see me shaking. You don't care what he says to God? You don't care for your own son's soul? Mary and all her saints preserve us. Owen Farmer, you're sending your own son into damnation. Owen lurched to his feet. Where else can I send him, Edith? I'm already there. His fingers knotted through his hair, his chest shuddering. Without taking my eyes off my husband, I crossed myself as careful as Easter. Father John had praised me. I would have the strength to face this. What are you saying, Owen? I clasped my fingers in prayer, pleading for my husband to come back to me. If you believe yourself beyond even the redemption of our Lord, Owen, then let Elisha be taken to the abbey. How can the discipline of a damned soul ever serve to raise a child? You would so easily let him go? Every word he said seemed spoken by a stranger, and I searched for the clues to his madness. To serve God? Not easily, but I would. What's come over you, Owen? Tell me how you don't want our son's soul in torment. Mine is, he shot back. Mine is in torment. By God, Edith, you don't know how hard I've tried to keep from tainting my family. I never should have had children. That hurt me from my heart to my loins, I tell you. Tears burned at my eyes, but I held back. We don't have to have more children. Owen, even if Elisha goes, if that priest takes him, Edith, we'll never see him again. For the good of his soul, Owen, and yours, I wanted to say, for I could see the boy's madness tearing at his father's heart. If Elisha took his madness away to the abbey, it might be the saving of all of us if it brought back the husband I knew. You don't understand, Edith. Father John, he's like them, the ones that burned the witch. He doesn't think Elisha can be saved at all. Didn't you see that? I remembered the compassion of the priest's look and the faith he placed in me, but my hands kneaded my apron as I spoke. You believe Father John will burn our son? Owen sighed. I didn't say that. He's a man of God. Owen, he's worried for Elisha's soul. He would break his flesh to save his soul. The crackle of the fire echoed in our little house, so empty with the boys both gone, and now empty of faith in my husband's heart. What Elisha said was true. My husband could sort out lies like a hound tracks a hare. You don't trust Father John. Why? Owen evaded my question, his mouth turned down. He's not the only trouble, Edith. It's true when he says the village is starting to worry. They're starting to be afraid of our son. If Elisha went, I'd lose him. If he stayed, I'd lose them both, along with the trust of Father John and the rest of the village. Our life in the village would be over if Elisha stayed. Across the valley, a bell rang. It was time to bring out the bedding, to secure the sheep pens and check the oats for the morning. It was time, and I had to choose before I, too, lost my faith. Why don't you go down and fetch Nate from the Cutlers, Owen? Edith. His hand brushed my cheek, and I leaned my face into his rough palm. You're a good woman. We'll find our way. His weight shifted. We'll move to London. They won't think to look there, given how you feel about the place. All this to keep your son from God, I thought, as Owen took up his cloak and went out the door. I caught it before it shut and hurried out to the shed where Elisha was petting one of the dogs. Tend the sheep, Elisha, I ordered, and he gave a nod. Maybe his father's last talk had made all the difference, and maybe it hadn't. As soon as Elisha went out the back, I tossed the halter over our colt's nose, took the lead rope around for reins, and pulled myself up on his back. I rode hard for the village, dusk falling over the fields and gilding the thatch of the cottages, lighting gold upon the cross that crowned our church. Father John stood in the yard with a lantern, no doubt going in to say the mass. Come now, Father. Take him now. Owen's gone to the Cutler's house to fetch Nathaniel back. We've not got much time. The priest hoisted his lantern, shadows dancing down his face. This is for the best, Edith, for the village and for your family. We must prevent the devil's work from spreading. Your husband will see that in time. He hurried back to his house to prepare while I turned for home. Elisha opened the door for me, frowning. I've done the sheep. Daw's not home yet. I wanted to just look at him a while, to blaze his sharp blue eyes and wild black hair into my heart, but he already watched like he worried over something, so I turned away. Under cover of taking out the bedding, I fetched a few of his things, his other tunic and trews, a carving Owen made for him, his hood with the pattern I stitched on last winter. When the hood door popped open again, we both startled. "Father!" Elisha cried, my heart thundering in fear of finding Owen already there, but it was Father John filling the door. "You're coming with me, Elisha, to take care of the devil, one or all." Elisha shook his head. He glanced at me and caught sight of his things bundled in my arms. "It was no devil. There was no devil that touched me, Father. You've got to believe me. The devil sends visions to overpower the weak. He spreads his poison through his witches here on earth and through those they snare. If your soul is pure, boy, you have nothing to fear. Don't send me away, Mom." My heart near melted, but I clasped the wooden cross I wore and said, "It's for your soul, Elisha. There's naught else to do." Father John loomed there in the door, hands spread in pleading for my son's faith. "No," Elisha shouted, "the devil take you. He's never had me." In that awful moment, while we crossed ourselves and the priest started forward, Elisha made a run for the door. Father John snatched him up. He bound Elisha's wrists, then had to gag him so he couldn't call his father back with screaming. Tears streamed down my cheeks and my son's, but after that awful curse, I could only pray it wasn't already too late. Father John put Elisha up on the saddle before him and mounted his tall horse. "God be with you, Edith," Father John shouted, but the clouds of his worries crowded out any compassion this time. They galloped away toward the mill bridge and the Roman road beyond. I wiped my face on my sleeve, clutching Elisha's things to my chest. Foolish woman, he'd be given all he needed there, and what we could not provide, a sanctuary against the fiend. The road climbed up the hill, and I watched until they disappeared over the other side toward the water before I finally turned away. Tucking the bundle under our bed, I laid out the boys' mattresses of straw along the wall, then stopped myself and stacked them instead. Nathaniel might as well have a little bit more comfort. He'd need that tonight when he knew his brother was gone. I heard him and Owen talking as they came up to the door, then Owen called my name. Fixing my face with a plain expression, I went out, got a shock to realize I hadn't put the colt away, but left him by the post. I'd been so anxious about getting inside to keep an eye on Elisha. "Why is the horse here? Elisha!" Owen slid Nathaniel down from his shoulders. "Oh, he's tending the sheep. I'll take care of it." I reached for the reins, but Owen caught my arm. "Don't lie to me, woman. I can feel a lie." He bared his teeth, his fingers too tight. "Where's Elisha?" I stood my ground. I asked Father John to come for him, to take him to the Abbey where he can be brought back to God. Owen cried out and pushed me away. At that sound, Nathaniel grabbed my skirts, but his father. "But the priest was lying. I know he was lying." "What about, Owen? You're not making any sense. You tell me you're in torment, but you won't trust the priest. You're afraid for our son, but you don't care that our neighbors want him dunked. I don't know who you are anymore." He stood for a moment and he spoke softly. "I'm sorry that you don't know who I am," he told me. "I'm sorry that you never did." He seized the reins and flung himself up to the colt's back. Where did they go? He looked majestic just then, his hair made bright in the last of the sun, his face made terrible by the secrets he kept from me. "Edith, where?" In the brightness of the sunset, he burned. The priest was lying. My husband was afraid, and the priest had taken our son down the Mill Bridge Road. I shook off Nathaniel's hands. "Stay here." Then I pulled myself up behind Owen, wrapping an arm around his chest, my hand pressed against his heart. "There, to the bridge." With a hard kick to the horse's ribs, Owen thundered down the path. "Tell me," I shouted into the wind. Owen's fingers found mine and twined into them. "You'll curse me, Edith. As you are a God-fearing woman, you will wish me dead." "No," I told him, but my voice shook and I clung to him tighter. What could be so awful that it tormented my husband and spread to my son? "You're a witch," I breathed, as the wind whipped the tears from my face. He could not have heard me, but his chest shuddered with a deep breath beneath our joined hands. "I never meant to be, Edith, and sure I never wanted to taint my son." He swallowed and spoke again. I can feel a lie. I can feel the truth. I can feel the minds of the dogs and the horse and the sheep. I can feel when springtime's moving in the ground. He jerked another breath. I can feel you love me. I can feel your fear. He was right, God help me, about the love and the fear. I thought I was losing you, that keeping Elisha meant losing you both. To Satan? He gave a sharp laugh. For me, at least, it's too late. It can't be, I wailed, but his words struck cold through my body. A man could have uncanny ways. He could know animals and lies and not be a witch, couldn't he? Owen was no witch, only wise to the ways of man and beast. But another man might not see that. Another man, even a priest, might see witchcraft and worry over that man's son. Faster. Owen bent forward, and the hedges blew past as we rode, up the hill and down the other side, and the colt stumbled. I rolled off his back, and Owen dropped heavily, catching the colt's head and murmuring so its wild eyes went calm. The rumble of the millstream filled my ears. Father John's horse towered in the center of the bridge, the priest staring into the water where violent ripples spread. Bunching my skirts in my hands, I ran. His head jerked up and he kicked his horse into motion, clattering to come before me, the horse's hooves splashing in the pond. Elisha, I shouted. Wait, Father John cried, opening his hand before me, his face grave. Wait and see if he rises. And if he sinks, he dies. I tried to get around him, but the priest drove his horse again before me. He can't swim. Owen's voice rumbled, no more can you. My husband seized my arm and thrust me behind. Would you not rather your son reside with the Lord in heaven than be possessed by the devil here below? My husband raised his chin. That is for God and not you to say. Then Owen ripped apart the air with his hands and howled, be gone. Father John's horse pranced and skittered, drenching us both as it cleared his path. At my husband's command, the waters rose. They tore before him as if his hands had gripped the water and severed them each from each. Rippling in the sunset, the pond broke in two, pushed away to either side, furrowed as the earth by a plow. At our feet, slick green stones appeared, and pebbles and pilgrims' tin badges tossed in to bless the village. A few fish flopped in the air as the waters departed. Others flashed tail or fins in the gleaming walls. Sticks protruded and receded, bobbing still above the sunken stumps. And there, Elisha lay drenched, face down in the mud. I stumbled past Owen, slipping on stones and losing a shoe before I caught Elisha's cold shoulder and pulled him from the muck. I rolled him into my arms, wiping his face, pulling free the gag. His chest shuddered and his legs twitched as I drew him close and rose. His feet broke the water wall, startling the fish. To either side, water rose above our heads, a dark passage back to the earth, which still glowed gold before us. Owen stood there, feet braced, hands spread, eyes wide and unbelieving. Unholy fiend! Father John wheeled his horse back, plunging into the chasm Owen held, but the horse shied, rearing, trying to turn away from Owen. Father John shrieked as he fell. Run, Owen told me, and his arms trembled. I stumbled toward shore. Elisha caught against me. Edith, do you not see the devil's work here? Father John slithered to his knees, his hand reaching toward me as I ran past. I lay my son by the bridge and turned back. The priest staggered to his feet, swaying, his hand impossibly large. No, a stone. He swung hard, his teeth set into fury. The cracking of my husband's skull echoed in the dusk. He fell face downward, the walls of water crashing in upon him, upon them both. Father John broke the surface, sputtering and bobbing like the devil's thing, but Owen never rose again. Mom? Elisha's voice, weak and small as never before. I found breath and went to him, tugging at the rag until his hands came free. We have to leave, now, tonight. The colt's gone lame, you'll need to walk with him. Where's Da? I thought I heard him. Where indeed? Heaven, for he stayed beneath the waters? Or hell, for how they took him? Hell for the priest that drowned beside him? Or heaven for the saving of his son? I don't know. Don't lie to me, Mom, Elisha whispered. I can feel it. Only once I struck that boy and we never spoke of it again. His father saved his body and still, I fight for his soul. Thank you.
Elaine, that was really harrowing.
Wow.
Thanks. You're welcome.
It was supposed to be, I think.
Wow.
That was excellent.
Yes.
So that was Elaine Isaak. Thank you very much, Elaine. And you can
Very
find more
welcome.
of her work at rocinantebooks.com.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks. Thank you for coming. Next, we have Kathleen Alcalá. Kathleen Alcalá is the author of 6 books of fiction and nonfiction, both a graduate of and instructor in the Clarion West Science Fiction and Fantasy Workshop. She has also published numerous short stories and essays, most recently in San Bernardino, Singing from Inlandia. A founding editor of the Raven Chronicles, her first novel, Spirits of the Ordinary from Chronicle Books, will be reissued by Raven Chronicles Press in 2021. Her work has received the Governor's Writers Award, the Western States Book Award, 2 Artist Trust Fellowships, and she is an island treasure on Bainbridge Island, where she resides, for which she must wear a tiara once a year, or more often if she likes.
Thank you, Laura. I'm going to read 2 short stories tonight. I'd like to thank Daniel Marcus for starting all this, and Laura Blackwell, who's now co-hosting the Story Hour. And I'd also like to say before I start that Black Lives Matter. The first story I'm going to read tonight is from a collection called Sharp and Sugar Tooth from Upper Rubber Boots Press, which was founded by a Canadian, you can't tell. And the story is called The Doll's Eye. Adelaide took a slurp, then another, sweet with a cinnamony taste, but under that a musky flavor she could not identify. Safe, she pronounced, and the dish was served to the Vescontessa. There were webbed feet sticking out of it. That was not for Adelaide to remark on, only whether or not the dish was safe for consumption. Adelaide had survived a couple of close calls. One had caused all her hair to fall out. It had been dark and wavy, but grew back straight and silver. She now wore it cropped close, which gave her a severe look that kept people at a distance. Just as well, she thought. Too many of her friends had turned out to be the self-same would-be assassins of her employers. What was it about food and poison that attracted people to the combination? She guessed it seemed so easy, so indirect. Seldom was there blood, although often there was vomit and other bodily emissions. Death was a messy business, no matter how it was administered against the will of the victim. Adelaide wiped her mouth and arranged her cloak. She was through for the time being. She needed air to balance the other humors that dwelled so thickly in the palace. Outside, the streets teemed with 1,000 smells, from the funk of the river to the honeysuckle that wafted across the walls of certain estates, invisible from the street. Adelaide did not advertise that smell was at least as important to her job as taste. She didn't want anyone to get ideas about how to disable her. She preferred that most continued to believe her abilities were a form of magic, passed down through generations of tasters who had lived long enough to procreate. A cloaked figure materialized beside her, but she recognized the thin frame. Mistress, it said. Master Anton, she answered. A good day to you. And you as well. Already she felt hemmed in. No time alone. How can I be of service, she asked. Was it delivered? Was what delivered? People tended to be overly cryptic with her. My gift. She turned a bit to glance at Master Anton's face, shrouded as it was in a hood. His watery blue eyes looked innocent enough. Or did they? I have no idea. I'm not in charge of music. Then there was an absence, even a breeze at her side. People were not only cryptic, they preferred to not be seen in her company. She sighed. At a nameless alley, Adelaide cut across the traffic to enter. The noise level dropped considerably, and the dominant smell became that of jasmine. She entered a courtyard where a patch of sun lit up the cascading plant, now in bloom, and instantly felt better. "Mistress," her wet nurse called out. "Maggie," she answered, exchanging a brief hug with the substantial woman before dropping to her knees. Mayrona was not a secret, but Adelaide preferred that she not grow up within the confines of court life. For one thing, she would be under constant scrutiny of the public and courtiers. For another, she could not teach her craft in front of the very people who sought to undermine it. The little girl was examining a brick in the courtyard through a curved piece of pretty natural crystal. It cast a blue shade on the ground where something was crawling about. "They're taking it back to their nest," she announced. "Let me see," said Adelaide. The dead insect appeared enlarged through the quartzite. Half a dozen small black ants were doing their best to move the thing along. "And is it edible?" she asked. Mayrona, whose hair was still wavy and dark, was a solemn child, as she supposed most of them must have been over the years, including herself. "Do you know what it is?" "A wasp," she answered, "a paper wasp, which is harmless." "And the ants themselves, are they edible?" "Yes," Mayrona promptly ate 2 of them, causing Maggie to shriek. "What news from the Viscountess's court?" she asked upon calming down. "The usual, drama and drivel." "We expected you last night." Mayrona squinted up at her mother. "Yes, Mum. Why did you not come home? Someone left a gift for you." "A late feast, the death of Santa Teresa." "How did she die?" "Unwillingly," she supposed. Santa Teresa suffered from mystical visions. Adelaide wondered if she used herbs to enhance them. "Is human flesh poisonous?" "Not of itself," answered Adelaide, "but it is not recommended. The deceased might have been poisoned, far more likely than the flesh of other animals, which are much more discriminating in their taste." Adelaide, whose private tastes were simple, dragged a stool out of the tiny cottage to the courtyard, where she could enjoy her bowl of milk and hunk of bread with her daughter, who continued to examine the miniature drama as it played out on the bricks. "It won't fit in the entrance," she announced. "Keep watching." Sure enough, with the aid of more ants, they began to dismantle the wasp so that, part by part, it could be taken into the nest and shared with the colony. Maggie straightened up. Her hearing had remained acute all these years. Adelaide stopped chewing, and she could hear the tramp of soldiers' feet coming closer. They stopped at the alley. A moment of confusion, then turned in. "Mistress Adelaide?" "Aye." "Your presence is required." Adelaide stood, handing her bowl to Maggie, and kissed her child on the head. "Be good," she whispered, and glanced at Maggie, who knew what to do if Adelaide did not return. She'd raised Adelaide's mother, too, and there was a day when she was not seen again. The Viscountessa was sprawled upon her bed, her unblinking eyes staring up at the canopy. The doctors were whispering, the maids weeping. Not again, Maggie thought. "What happened?" she asked out loud. "Does she yet live?" "Her heart is weak, her consciousness fleeting." Adelaide noted a blue tinge around the Viscountessa's mouth and bent close over the nails of her hand without touching it. "Her heart has always been weak. Has she had a shock?" She was listening to the court musicians. Adelaide remembered Master Anton in the street, his abrupt appearance and disappearance. Gifts. Has she received any gifts? A small potpourri from the composer. Nothing edible. "Fetch it," she demanded. A young page, sullen with grief, brought the flowers in. Adelaide handled them with the kerchief she kept around her neck, untying a ribbon from around the little bundle and spreading the flowers and greenery out. The Viscountessa coughed. The page keeled over on the thick carpet. "There," said Adelaide, a small dark red stem could be seen among the others. So, said the senior court physician, what is it? We're looking for what is absent. This stem once held berries. The Vescomtessa, and she glanced at the page, who was quietly convulsing, and this young boy must have eaten them, in spite of my every warning. One berry was left, innocent and white, with the disconcerting look of a small eyeball. Doll's eyes, she answered, a type of baneberry. But it looks like a currant, said the doctor. But oh, so deadly. Quick, a draught of salt water for the Vescomtessa. The noble woman was propped upright, and as much salt water poured down the front of her dress as into her throat until she sputtered into life and began to vomit. A gift, thought Adelaide, and her blood ran cold. I must go. She rushed through the streets, heedless of her own safety, intent on the courtyard she thought might be safer than the court itself. The wailing reached her before she saw Maggie holding her daughter's limp body. A posy, cried Maggie. A sweet potpourri. How could he? A final gift, sobbed Adeline. I guarded the Vescomtessa so well. He could not bear it. A small bundle of flowers and herbs, identical to the one in the royal quarters, lay on the bricks, where the ants ignored it. Thank you. And now I'm going to read a story that's based on the legend of La Llorona. Does anyone here know about that?
One of my favorites.
Oh, good. And there are many, many variations of it. And so I got interested in it a few years ago during the Andrea Yates case. This is the woman in Houston who drowned her 5 children and later was determined to probably suffer from postpartum syndrome. So there are many different ways to look at the figure of La Llorona as a villainess or as a victim. Typically, she's described as having long dark hair and wearing a long white dress, and you see her by the river and she's crying, "Ay, mis hijos, ay, mis hijos." And she's supposedly looking for the children she's drowned, and she's doomed forever to walk the riverbanks. So this one is a variation on La Llorona. It's called Crybaby. Oh, that moan was cold. It swept in under the door, crept across the floor, up the walls, crouched in the window corners, ready to come down on her at a moment's notice. She felt that chill, heard that baby blue hiccup that meant baby was up. What's up, she asked as she lifted baby from the crib, a safe crib, a guaranteed to keep little snookums out of the woods when the wolves are out crib. Cindy longed to climb into the crib herself, babe in arms, and sleep forever. Instead, she changed baby, who didn't try to flip off the table for once, and plopped her into a high chair while she heated the bottle. Who knows what the cat knows? He'd brought her a mouse again. Did this mean an extra cold winter? Need to fill the larders with fat mice? Or just get fat? She patted her own belly, still loose and jellified from the pregnancy. The extra 30 pounds she gained down to maybe 15 or 20, maybe a little more. As long as she was nursing, the clinic told her, she would lose weight. It didn't happen. Her hunger was not as raging as during the pregnancy, but it still turned noisily inside of her like an internal combustion engine craving coal in order to burn, burn, burn. She came to when baby started her hiccupy cry again, to find the water boiling around the bottle. Now, too hot. Oh, baby, oh, I love you so. So many songs to baby, but they didn't mean baby, did they? They meant the one who would end up with baby when it was all over, when the music stopped, when all the lovers went home, when no one would save the last dance for you. My mama done told me, but no, her mama did not tell her, told her nothing, not how it happened, only not to let it happen, which Beto guaranteed he would not let happen, murmuring in her ear, his hand creeping down her pants, until it did. Then he was gone. From town to the army to work to the good girl it turns out he was cheating on with her, with you. But still, Cindy had never been happier, if only for those few weeks. The wind hummed a little louder. Oh, baby, let's try the bottle again. Baby grabbed it like a bear cub and practically turned the bottle inside out. She sucked so hard. The birds twittered. The sun came up. There were playful gusts of wind, like the day straightening its sheets as it got up from bed. She changed baby again and put her in the playpen. She was just starting to pull up, trying to stand so she could not be left by herself for a minute. Cindy grabbed some clothes and threw herself in the shower. As soon as she had shampoo in her hair, baby started screaming. Cindy jumped out and grabbed a towel. Baby had fallen backwards in the playpen, but stopped crying as soon as she was picked up. Cindy brought her in the bathroom and tried to hold the wriggling infant while rinsing her own head in the sink. By 7, Cindy had baby in the car seat and was on her way to Mama's. That cold moan got in the car with her. It threatened to drown out the people on the radio who covered the news from overnight. Floods, money, disasters, rich people getting richer, more floods. Cindy remembered she'd not paid her credit card yet, and she would pay more if she did not pay that day. It started to sprinkle, and she turned on the windshield wipers, the left one always sticking just a little before returning. Cindy's mother was at the door to take baby. All frowns for Cindy, all smiles for baby, told her she looked fat, that she'd never get a husband looking like that, and of course, already with the baby. Baby. At work, Cindy parked, got out of the car, and straightened her shirt. She would eat only an apple for lunch today. She promised herself. Mondays were hell. Everyone was frantic, hungover, bright-eyed, meaning to do better, be nicer, eat only an apple for lunch. Cindy's desk was already stacked with forms to enter. Bruce must have brought more after she left work on Friday. At least the software was fixed. She put on her glasses and set to work. Every 5 forms, she allowed herself to stop, initial them, and put them in a separate stack. At 11:50, Natalie stopped by Cindy's desk, wondered if she wanted to go to lunch with her and some others for Gail's birthday. Cindy liked Natalie and sort of liked Gail, but she said no, conscious of her tight top, her promised apple. Oh, come on, Natalie said, just once. Cindy winced. That was exactly what he had said, just once, and nothing would happen. Nobody ever got pregnant the first time. That burn in her belly set in, that engine that wanted to be stoked, and she said yes. The daily special was a Reuben sandwich, and Cindy ordered it. She had to lean forward to keep the juices, the dressing, the sauerkraut from dripping down her front. She told the whining apple part of her brain to shut up. When she got back to the office, there were more forms. Bruce must not take any lunch, she thought. Although about 15 people processed, he was the only one who checked the forms before dividing them up among the processors. Only once did Cindy find an omission he should have caught. Cindy called her mother to check on baby. Baby's fine. Maybe Dad and I should take her more of the time. Why? Asked Cindy. Dad's not getting any younger. So you want to watch the baby more on top of watching Dad? Her mother was silent. At 4:30, Cindy grabbed her purse and was pulling her hair back into a ponytail when she ran into Bruce in the hall. I was just coming to see you, he said. Oh, yes? We are going to alter the form again. Just one line, make it easier for the adjusters. If she left right then, she would beat the worst traffic on the Valley Highway. Can we talk about this tomorrow? She asked. Oh, sure. He continued on toward her cubicle with his load of forms. She knew he would drop some off along the way. The Johnny Appleseed of insurance claims. Cindy suddenly loathed the office, her job, her coworkers, and their simple lives. She loathed the greasy spots on her blouse and the computer glasses she had forgotten to take off and leave on her desk. But she would not go back and risk running into Bruce again. The wind was blowing fitfully, stronger when she got outside. She shielded her face and the crook of her arm from the dust devils picking their way across the parking lot. Bits of rock and dirt pelted her head and arms. At her mother's house, the wind tried to shut the car door on her leg. She limped to the door and struggled inside. Her dad was asleep in the recliner in the living room, a game on television. The low roar of the crowd backwashed through the dim room. She heard Baby call out, a rising note of question. Baby broke into a smile as Cindy picked her up out of the high chair. Those sharp little teeth in front, that dimple, just like his. Baby broke Cindy's heart every day. She had a little bruise on her forehead. What's this? Asked Cindy, kissing it. Oh, I'm so tired, said her mother, holding her back with both hands. Baby was into everything today. She's pulling up. She wants to stand. I had to put her in the high chair to get anything done. Baby wore a bib full of soggy Cheerios. For how long? Oh, I don't know. She wouldn't nap today. She always naps. Baby bounced her lips off Cindy's shoulder. She was hungry. She was also soaked. We've got to go before the storm gets any worse. Cindy could hear the wind calling around the corner, whispering sour nothings in the ears of the house. Leave her here. She'll be okay. What's with you, Mom? Thank you. I'll see you later. It's just, what? I ran into my friend Sylvia at Safeway. She has a son. Yeah, so? I gave her your phone number. Maybe he'll call. I told you, Mom, the last thing I want to do right now is date. End of story. Cindy picked 3 empty bottles out of the sink and crammed them into Baby's diaper bag. I have 0 time for pendejos. Who else is going to date you? Cindy's mother could be mean. She wished she could afford real daycare. I'll see you tomorrow, Mom. It's Tuesday, remember, so I have to be there a half hour early for our staff meeting. I know, you think I don't remember anything. I don't think that. Outside, the sky had turned a swirling gray. Cindy tucked Baby's face against her shoulder. Opening the door to the back seat, it whipped back and hit them both. Baby screamed. She kept screaming, arching her back as Cindy struggled to buckle her in. She might have hurt her a little, pinched her leg with the buckle, but there was nothing she could do about it. It's okay, she kept murmuring. The rain started up again. The farther they drove, the heavier it got. Cindy was worried about the underpass. It had flooded at least once recently, but was the quickest way home. She could not think through Baby's screams. She wondered if something else was wrong with her. Maybe Mom had put one of those old-fashioned diapers on her she liked to use. Sometimes the safety pins came open. Baby was braying like a donkey, unable to catch her breath. She smelled really bad. Traffic was at a crawl, and Cindy could barely see out through the windshield. That low moan got louder and louder, a growl filling the car like a trapped animal. Cindy tried to gun it through a low spot, but the car lost traction. It began to drift with a quick flow of water across the roadway. She felt her blood surge in fear. A truck driver in the oncoming lane blared his horn. Cindy's car began to rotate slowly to the left as Baby screamed. Cindy realized the moan was rising from her own throat as it turned to a scream. Oh, Baby! Cindy loosened her seatbelt and struggled onto her knees, reaching back to release Baby from her car seat. She could not open her door, the rising waters holding it shut. Finally, Cindy lay on her back and kicked the window out. Cindy squirmed out through the window, only to find herself waist deep in water. the surrounding cars and trucks beginning to float and bump into each other. The rain was so hard she could barely see. Baby was quiet now, as though she knew her mother needed to concentrate. It's okay, baby. She held the little girl close, reassuring herself as much as baby. Cindy walked up the embankment and made her way to the overpass, heedless of the traffic that continued to pass her by inches. At the top, Cindy looked down to where she'd left her car with everything still in it: baby's car seat, Cindy's purse, her phone. She realized she was barefoot. She must have lost her shoes along the way. By now, the water was beginning to close over the top of the car. As she gazed down through the windshield, Cindy realized with a start that she could see a woman inside, lying inert in the driver's seat. It must be someone else's car. Where was hers? Cindy looked at the child in her arms. All she held was baby's coat. Baby was not in there. Baby, where's baby? She called. By now it was dark. Cars continued to stream past Cindy as she tried to make her way back below the underpass, trying to find her car, find baby. Time passed and the waters began to subside. The light was failing and Cindy had trouble seeing. A dense fog had settled over everything. Cindy could hear a police radio down the street, where police cars and flashing lights surrounded a barrier, keeping drivers away from the scene. She kept wiping her eyes as though this would make baby appear. A tow truck came and the driver hooked her car up to it. There was no one inside that she could see. She must have imagined the body. Cindy stood by the side of the road all night. She did not feel tired and did not know where to go. I have to think, she said to herself. I have to go to the police. I have to find baby. She kept trying to remember those final moments in the car, how she picked up baby, how she got out, but she could not. And she would not go to the police if she'd left baby behind. She imagined being taken to her parents' home like this, without baby. She imagined the things her mother would call her, would accuse her of. She did not leave the intersection. A day passed, and the underpass was swept out and reopened to traffic. Cindy crouched by one end of the underpass, her arms wrapped around herself, wet and dirty, barefoot, watching each car as it entered the tunnel, looking for baby. No one seemed to notice her. Night fell. Cindy stood and realized that she was rooted to this place, that she could not stop looking for baby, ever. The whine started in the pit of her stomach. Up through her chest, it rose to a growl in her throat. It burst out of her mouth and filled the street, echoed down the tunnel below the overpass, down the dank asphalt byways, the water still draining down the walls of stained stucco buildings, down the alleys and sidewalks and gutters of the old downtown. Baby, she called. Baby.
Oh my.
I think harrowing was the descriptor of the night. That was
I can't decide
excellent.
if we were the perfect companions or, yeah.
Amazing.
Much.
Terrifying motherhood stories.
Lovely, lovely work.
Very
Thank
nice
you.
work,
Thank you.
Kathleen.
Beautiful, both of them. Thank you.
I enjoyed yours too, Elaine.
Thanks.
Have another story that's set in medieval Spain that would have gone with that as well.
Oh, well, Daniel, we may have to have them back.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're certainly open to repeat performers. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and when it works this well, why mess with it?
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
And
you
all of you
both.
for coming.
Yes,
Yes.
everyone, let's have a round of applause for Elaine Isaak and Kathleen Alcalá.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much for reading. And everyone who's watching and listening, please do think not only of Elaine Isaak and Kathleen Alcalá, but also of SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, who we're all thinking of tonight. Next week, we have another fabulous lineup. We have the currently somewhat intimidating looking Cliff Winnig. Hi, Cliff. And we will also have Meg Elison. So that is definitely another one to look forward to as well. Thank you all for coming. Daniel, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. If y'all know folks who might be interested in reading, please send them our way, you know.
Yes.
And also, like we said, we welcome people to come back for another round. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. You see, Robert Hoffman is here. He might be interested. He's a writer.
awesome.
Well, we've had a few other people here as
Yeah,
well
we've
too.
looked
We
at
had
something.
Tom Marcinko recently.
Yeah, come and go. One of my cousins was here for a while.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very much. This has been a wonderful story hour, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Daniel.
Bye,
Thank you very
Catherine.
much, Laura and Daniel.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
See you next week.
Good night.